that describe my father is from the bottom up, because nobody gave him anything. He's our GOAT, the greatest of all time.
Whenever I need somebody to tell me the truth, he's a person that I go to.
I figured out a long time ago that the greatest profession of all time is ownership.
I don't think your dad's afraid of anybody.
He was always there to support us.
Probably the closest thing I can think of to being self-made.
Growing up in Avondale and on J Street, it was an opportunity where we saw change. When we first moved there, there was a heavy Jewish population. There were all kinds of businesses surrounding our house on Burnett Avenue, jewelry shops, bakeries, fur stores, all kinds of things. That lifestyle had some impact on me. We saw the transition of the Jewish community moving out of Avondale and more African Americans coming in, and we saw the evaporation of businesses leaving our community. So we got a chance to see that transition and ask ourselves why. That the economics kind of leave the community.
Coming from there and then seeing how we, myself, Steve, had moved on and progressed coming from South Avondale. I think it meant a lot to come from that background to become the people that we are today.
I was working with young men in the Avondale area, making sure that they headed in the correct way.
I used to love throw rocks. I don't know why, but I did. And one day, this man came up to me and said, "Hey, you've been throwing rocks and you seem to be throwing pretty good." He said, "What, you ever thought about playing baseball?" No. The gentleman's name was Handy Matthews. That was the first positive male image I saw outside of my father early.
I started coaching baseball, and Steve Reece was my ace pitcher. He didn't know too much about it, but he learned very quickly.
If you can throw a rock, you can throw a baseball. I can throw a baseball. So anyway, he's convinced me to be a pitcher on the baseball team. And so we did. So I could throw pretty hard. I could throw curves, and as to me, it was all in fun. And so when we went out to play out in Bond Hill and Roselawn and those areas, and they didn't really want us out there, African Americans. When you show up as a group, the police showed up.
We not only played ball, but we had time out for me to lecture on how to be a man. I found Steve to be a person that really had leadership qualities.
My mother was stickler about, you got to go to bed, you got to rest, you got to be ready, you got to have your head together. You can't let them get in your head, Steve. Mr. Matthews talked to us. So anyway, that day I didn't wash the dishes. And my mother said, "You're not going to play." That's all it is. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. And once she said that, Daddy enforced it. "No, you ain't. No." So Mr. Matthews called me and said, "You getting ready?" I said, "Mr. Matthews, I won't be able to play with you all day."
So I went to his house, and I knew his mother from Woodward High School. She says, "Steve is not going anywhere. Mr. Matthews, go and look in that kitchen and see what it looks like. No one is leaving this house until that kitchen is cleaned up." I went in the kitchen and looked. Sure enough, it was full of dirty, using to wash the dirty dishes. I washed the dishes so he could go and we could win the ball game.
And he came to the house to talk to my mother. My mother said, "All right, the only reason I'm letting you out of here is because Handy Matthews came out here and talked to me. I put him in custody. He gonna take you down there and bring you right back so you can finish your work."
And consequently, we won the city championship.
Went down there and pitched a no-hitter. and all that stress. They screaming, shouting, hollering. You know, you can't make it. You ain't gonna do this. You ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna do that. So that kind of inspired me to be competitive. That inspired me to be able to go against the odds and not let my environment change me and dictate what the outcome is going to be.
Building a business from the bottom up is a dream of Steve Reece that goes back to his days at Withrow High School.
I was disgusted when I came out of high school because they were not teaching entrepreneurship. They had a few courses on business management where you can become a middle manager. They did not have one on ownership. And all I said, man, I'm not interested in this. This everything you're teaching me has been done. What I'm interested in doing is doing something new and coming up with some new ideas and new approaches that can help our people.
Steve would go on to meet two life changers.
My uncle took me to Johnson Publishing in Chicago. He said, I want to show you what African-American businessmen can do. So nobody ever can convince you that it can't be done and that it's a hoax. He said, because they'll set up all kind of barriers to try to discourage you and to convince you that it's impossible to do. My Aunt Bessie, I used to be around, always telling me I want to be an owner son. And my uncle, Sam Reece, was kind of an entrepreneur, selling cars and wigs and plastic business. And he would always go back and forth to Detroit and different places. So my aunt said, hey, why don't you take Steve with you? He said, well, take Steve up there and see Jerry. That was my Aunt Jerry in Detroit. And she said, maybe you get a chance to see the Motown. That's when Motown was evolving. She said, you need to go down there and meet Mr. Gordy. And Sam said, my Uncle Sam said, well, how are we going to get him to see? She said, wait a minute. So she got on the phone and called him. He answered the phone. He said, bring him on down. So I went on down to Motown where he was recording Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, he's in the Valleys. Marvin Gaye was running around in the studio. And Barry Gordy said, this is what we do and this is how you had somebody take me around touring. And I said, man, this is something. And so I came back to Cincinnati and ended up doing a lot of independent concerts. I must have done over 500 independent jazz concerts, Eden Park, Mount Adams, UC, all over. Man. I met a lot of musicians, a lot of guys, get to know them. And that led me to creating Operation Step Up.
Steve made a major step toward his dream of ownership when at the age of 21, he started Operation Step Up, a talent showcase.
So I started in the basement, moved from there, and then when I started Operation Step Up, they got me in office at 515 Mellish, which is Martin Luther King Boulevard now. They tore it down. And that was my first office. I had 6 music school teachers on my staff. I had programs in the West End, Avondale, and Evanston. We serviced over 1,000 young people, giving them a chance to sing and be in talent shows and compete.
Antonio Reed, which everybody knows him as L.A., he took us up to your dad, and that's how we met your dad. And here's the cool thing. Nowadays, you go somewhere, you need a rehearsal spot, it's going to cost you. We didn't know your father, from Adam. He didn't know us. He just knew it was a band. Your dad let us rehearse for free.
And Babyface came here and talked to me. People didn't realize that Babyface come and talked to me because I was kind of like the talent guy around here, talent promoter, and they were trying to get their groups off the ground. They needed rehearsal space. They needed an opportunity to give them a thought of what to do.
Then he started like, you guys, like the sound and stuff. And he would give little, like talent shows and stuff. And we would be in some of them, sometimes be like judges for him.
That the Vice President of the United States declared our program as one of the most successful summer programs and musical programs. of its kind. Matter of fact, I tried to get some of the major record companies to come to town and to listen, send the A&R people to listen to see if they could sign some people. And so we did that. Wasn't able to get all the money we want to do, so we started our independent label, SR Records.
Steve met young musical talent Barbara Howard, and he wrote songs and produced her self-titled album, Barbara Howard on the Rise, on his independent label, Steve Reece Productions. The two would later marry.
We recorded her on the independent label, and she didn't think she could record the songs. And we tried to do a variety of songs, because when radio stations, some say, we have a jazz format. One, we got a soul format. I can't play your record, so we put some jazz, we put some soul, we put some pop on the album. So whenever we went to one of the radio stations, if they said, we want pop, we got this pop selection. We want gospel, we got this gospel selection. So that's why we had such a variety on the album.
So, and I mean, that record too, it sounds expensive. Like I hear it and I'm like, this is a quality, you know, even for then, it's a really quality production. So somebody spent some money.
The album did well, and we marketed through independent distributors. And I'm proud to say today that it's on YouTube, some of the selections, and it has been played on oldie but goodies all over the world. And there's still people in the music business that looking for old and collector items and albums and stuff, still trying to get that album to record.
We sort of just started our reissue imprint from our label, so I was like, this would be a really cool project to work on, possibly re-release it, get it back out there so people are aware of its existence. And I realized it's a Cincinnati thing. I'm like, oh, this is too easy. Like, we have to do this now.
I got involved with the Jazz Festival. Got a chance to meet George Wein, who is the founder and the owner of the Jazz Festivals out of Boston. And after I met George Wein, he said, man, I like you, little guy. You know, I was young, said, you know, be a good guy. He said, yeah, you know anything about promotion? So he invited me up to his house, went up to his house, and then he introduced me to Dino St. Angelo, who was a local promoter of the Jazz Festivals here. And he told Dino, you and Steve get together. I want Steve involved with it. So we came back. And at that time, the Jazz Festival was at Crosby Field and was all jazz. Nina Simone, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk. But they were losing tons of money. And George was a jazz musician. And George said, man, I got to do something. And Dino, no, you know, don't pull out of Cincinnati and we need you. And give us a chance to do R&B. And George said, man, I don't want to do no R&B. He said, you know, R&B will go. So I went with Dino to convince George Wein, let's turn the festival to R&B.
Barbara sang at the festival more than once. It was always a great interest to us to have that, you know, as somebody local and somebody that, not to mention the fact that it was somebody that was, in effect, you know, we treated, in many years, Steve was like a staff member. You know, we've never been, my brother Dino was never, you know, none of us were ever into, you know, titles and any of that kind of stuff. We just all did what needed to be done.
It went with a jazz sampler, meaning that we wanted to do something for the young people in the afternoon for the Jazz Festival. And the guest, Barbara, was the opening act. She opened and sung and did very well. And then the close, it was her and Stevie Wonder. Her and Stevie Wonder performed together.
And gives a person like Steve an added dimension that some people just don't have the benefit of. And I think it's a wonderful thing that he's done by being so involved in the community. And I think music gave him the leapfrog to get into that and entertaining people, working with people. It gave him the next step up, natural progression. And I think it's great. And not everybody can do it.
Steve would go on to meet his political mentor, the late Mayor Theodore M. Berry, the first African-American mayor of the city of Cincinnati.
I would say Steve Reece is an entrepreneur. That's what I would say. Entrepreneur that loves politics. That's how I would describe him.
My father always spoke very highly of Steve, and Steve was his executive assistant while he was mayor in 74, thereabouts, early 70s. Steve was his left-hand man at City Hall. He basically did everything on behalf of my father when my father wasn't able to be available, or in terms of scheduling and campaigning. He helped him on his campaigns. And he was just very highly regarded.
But my father thought the experience of working with Barry would be fantastic. And it was something that you couldn't get out of a book. And it wasn't something that you're going to always hear, to be able to be up close with somebody who had so much wisdom and experience that could pass on to you, and particularly from an African-American perspective.
Politically, Steve would go on to run for Cincinnati City Council, U.S. Congress, state party chairman, and serve as the political strategist for Reverend Jesse Jackson's historic presidential campaign.
Your dad ended up running the Jesse Jackson for president campaign here, and everybody poo-pooed that until Jesse Jackson carried Hamilton County. Amazing. And the other thing about Jesse, I remember, is that he was coming to speak at an Ohio Democratic Party convention. And your dad asked me if I wanted to meet Jesse Jackson. And sure, yeah, I'd love to meet him.
Steve helped numerous candidates in key elections. He also served as political strategist for his oldest daughter, Alicia, in her races for city council, mayor, and state representative. You know, he's helped me politically because he's a great strategist.
I think working for Ted Berry did a couple things for your dad. I think one, it gave him a really good insight into people, which served him well in business. Politics did not work out for him the way a lot of people wanted it to. I think that meant it had been more with him deciding to pivot to something else as opposed to sticking with the politics.
Told me about an idea that he had, that he wanted to move downtown, become a businessman downtown. I said, well, boy, that's really a tremendous feat if you can accomplish that. And by God, he did.
Steve would open Communiplex Services, a full-service diversified advertising, marketing, consulting, and sports promotion company located in downtown Cincinnati. And he would be elected the first African-American vice chairman of the Cincinnati Advertising Club.
Communiplex, which was Steve's advertising agency, was one of our advertising agencies at the time. So at the time we were introducing a custom calling, which is kind of old stuff now, but it was the latest and the greatest, three-way calling and call forwarding and call holding. And so we had to introduce that. And so I remember Steve being in meetings with us over on the client side and talking about custom calling and how it was going to be introduced to all the different neighborhoods. And so I got to work with them professionally at that point in advertising.
After many successful ad campaigns, Steve would be approached by a local boxer who would go on to be a future Hall of Famer, Aaron Pryor.
We were approached from Aaron Pryor, who had basically been considered one of the outstanding boxers on the Dream Team with Sugar Ray Leonard and Leon Spinks and all of them. And they were having the U.S. Olympic tryouts here in Cincinnati. And from there, they would select the Olympic team. Aaron Pryor was selected to be one of those persons to be on that team.
I knew him in promoting boxing, Aaron Pryor, and back in the day with Aaron Pryor, he was part of Aaron Pryor's first professional fight, and Communiplex Services was his company.
And they did a great job. It was a sellout. This was one of the things that was very important. I can remember when the HBO or Showtime specials years ago, where they had Mr. Reece on there, and I heard him talking about the first fight and understanding how instrumental he was in Aaron's career, because we all have to start somewhere.
I was so excited to sign that contract with Steve, because that was one of the best things that me and Aaron could have did at that time, because Aaron was having a problem signing contracts. And but the ropes at that time wasn't really, he wasn't really for sure, but Steve was for sure. he said, I see a champion, this guy Aaron Pryor, you know. And hey, what about me, Steve? Oh, you gonna be right with me, so you're gonna be a champion anyway. So that kind of excited our day. That day was an exciting day. You know, today a fantastic day because Aaron ended up being champion of the world.
Communiplex services continue to be innovative and trailblazing in the sports world.
And we had a local component and a national component. We brought out Thea Gibson and Jackie Joyner-Kersee from the Olympics in here. Pat Head Summit, the coach of Tennessee, came in to be with us. Cheryl Miller from USC was in here. We had the induction ceremony right in Cincinnati, and then lobbied to bring in many of the college women's basketball teams. We brought in the University of Georgia, North Carolina, in here and played. Tennessee came and played. Pat Head played here. They came in and played games, and Indiana State University played, UC played, Xavier played. We could go on. We named many of them. And out of that, we went and lobbied before the Women's Basketball Association about bringing the Final Four, the women's Final Four, to Cincinnati. We thought it would be great.
When I was at Cincinnati Gas and Electric, that we were involved in sponsoring some of the women's sports events that he held. So I think, you look at today and how the sports events are all the places where advertising appears everywhere. So I think he's been a real forward-thinking, smart man who's done a lot for the industry and with the industry.
Communiplex Services also sponsored Cincinnati's first girls AAU Junior Olympic basketball teams. The company's younger girls team went on to win the state AAU Junior Olympic Girls Championships 2 years in a row and competed at the Nationals. The Communiplex Girls AAU program went on to generate almost $2 million in college scholarships for local girls. Steve continued to speak out on issues like standing with African American Metro bus drivers for fair wages and promotion opportunities, and bringing other issues to the forefront on his popular 15-year weekly radio show called What Are the Issues on WCIN 1480.
But as a former Metro driver, he stepped in the early 80s, and there was a little controversy going on, and he brought the African American drivers together to show them how to deal with management, because at the time, our union was not comprised of people that looked like us, and we didn't think that our concerns were being met. And Steve came in and galvanized the troops, and it made a serious impact on it.
After being in business downtown for 12 years, Steve returned to the community and was featured in a Fox 19 business special.
Steve, Barbara, and their daughter Alicia Reece had it made downtown.
As an entrepreneur, without any government assistance, basically with hard sweat and money that we had.
They built a market called Communiplex Services that hatched Ohio's first minority tourism campaign. That's actually Barbara singing its jingle. They compiled a nationwide minority business directory for Federated stores, organized Black college and women's basketball classics, and even staged campaign rallies for Jesse Jackson.
When he bought that building out there in Roselawn, that was one of the smartest moves that a black man made during that particular time, business-wise.
They'd come a long way from Bond Hill, but
after that, we decided that we wanted to return to the neighborhood and to build and to establish a facility in the neighborhood that could provide services, jobs, and could provide a role model and an image in the community.
So, using local contractors and builders, they converted this empty warehouse into the Reece and Reece Executive Suites, which include a beauty salon. Nicole, these folks make you look this pretty?
Yes.
Your mother helped.
Yes.
There's also Integrity Banquet Hall, the National Women's Sports Hall of Fame, a nationally accredited daycare center, and the only freestanding automatic teller machine anywhere in Bond Hill.
Everybody knew where Integrity Hall was. You said you're going to have an event at Integrity Hall. You didn't even have to give them the address. They knew where it was,
Integrity Hall was a dirt basement when I bought it. it did not exist. And when I bought the building was completely empty and dilapidated. It was not what people saw.
Steve is also one of the proud founders of the Greater Cincinnati African American Chamber of Commerce that was kicked off at Integrity Hall. Steve even ran for a new title, but this time he would be elected to the Prince Hall Most Worshipful Grand Master of the state of Ohio in 1993.
His great work in the Masonic order is really tied to his faith. That's why he rose all the way to the top. And Steve made me a Mason. He called me one morning and woke me up and told me to get up and get down on Wyndham and to the Masonic Hall. You're going to be a Mason here today before 12 o'clock.
Well, Masonry, I really found out a little bit about Masonry while I was working with Ted Berry, because he had a 33rd degree ring on, and I used to see him. We go in and we'd be discussing, what we got to do the next day. And I asked him, what was that ring? He said, it's a Masonic ring. I said, what's Masonic? He said, well, you need to read up on it, and it'd be something good for you. And so I said, well, he said, well, check around and see it, but make sure you get in the lodge with some younger people. But as I checked around, I was very impressed because it was an organization of men, African-American men, founded by African-American men, Prince Hall. And much of what he stood for, I believed in.
It's time for action, and people without vision will perish. In his business model, he actually, and I can't think how many thousands of dollars. I'll give you one instance that a couple and a brother, it's in the proceedings under his year, 93 to 95, saved a young man $10,000 on closing costs with Star Bank. He put a program in place where we would get discounted rates on our banking services. We also had a credit card in our name, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge. We've never had another one since then, with favorable zero, very low interest rates, 0 to 5%, some of that nature. He also established, the only time we've had it was a system of credit unions throughout the state of Ohio.
As a leader of nearly 10,000 Masons and Eastern Stars, Steve worked with his Masonic brother, the late businessman Carl Linder, to do what had never been done before: bring together black and white Masonic leadership to a historic meeting in Cincinnati that's documented in the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center.
That was a historical breakthrough. Historical breakthrough, because there was some deep, and now it's all over the South. They're breaking through the West Coast, everywhere. They're fraternal relations. Now England just asked us to collectively celebrate 300 years of Masonry.
He orchestrated that meeting at the Cincinnati Hotel with a partnership with Mr. Carl M. Linder. He owned the Cincinnati, and it was Brother Linder, 33rd degree. And they got together with James Olmsted, who was Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ohio at the time, with Most Worshipful Grand Master Stephen Reece Sr. And that was unheard of, to have any type of recognition for blacks and white Masons.
In 2011, a dream would come true for Steve, as he helps bring the ancient Egyptian Arabic order nobles of the Mystic Shriners Convention to Cincinnati, not once, but twice.
It's through my efforts and some others, Bob Jones and Sidney Broadnax, and some others, we brought the Shrine Convention, and I was a local chairman in 2011.
Well, in the industry specifically, Steve knows so many people. If he doesn't know people in Cincinnati, he knows people outside Cincinnati that are bringing conventions to town.
In 2015, I was able to help bring the Shrine Convention back to Cincinnati and serve as a local chairman. So I've been Imperial Promotion Director. I've been Imperial Student Aid Director. And Imperial means you're International Director.
Steve received his honorary doctorate degree from Temple Bible College and taught hundreds of students as a professor at the University of Cincinnati for 25 years.
You don't get too many teachers that invest time into you. They're like, you're an athlete. Okay, this, bye. He made sure he preached us getting our degree. That's why I came back. I left early for the draft to prepare for training and everything, but I came back, finished up, got my bachelor's and everything.
Well, after 28 years, Steve sold his building and the community, but he continues to build on the strides and the results of Communiplex services, like the $50 million cable franchise deal in Cincinnati, the Star Bank Car-a-thon that took place at Integrity Hall, resulting in $20 million in loans, and a car-a-thon that increased car sales. He focuses now on consulting and advertising.
All of the businesses that I got, I did not inherit it. Nobody gave them to me. I had to think them up, develop them, operate them, and fund them.
When you come from a situation like myself, nobody I grew up with had their fathers. So to see a black father, and this black father is a black businessman, I mean, it let us know that we were capable of doing all those things.
My belief is that only thing that you really have that you can count on through the ups and downs and at the end of the day is your family.
He was always there for us. I mean, no matter if he had to go out of town for work or had to work late, he was at every school function, every basketball game, baseball game, every speech. I mean, he'd be the loudest one in the stands. I mean, it used to get to the point where he was like the team coach from the other side, man, screaming and yelling, talking junk. When Mr. Reece come, it livened up the whole crowd, even in college. One time, man, we played down in Alabama, and he looked up and my mom and dad coming in with Alicia and Tiff. So he was always there to support us, and that's the reason that we still support each other all to this day. Every function is because of what him and my mom did from us being since birth.
The fondest and favorite memory for me with him would be my wedding day. We had the father and daughter dance. And anyone that knows me knows that I am a stickler with organization, and I like things to be done the way I want them to be done. And this particular time, we were dancing. It was a father and daughter dance. And I think it was a Luther dance with my father. And I see him giving my brother the speed it up gesture, and my brother shaking his head, no, I'm not doing it. And my sister's over there saying, just do what daddy says. My dad's like, he ready to party. So my brother had turned on the music, and the party began. He kind of booted me out the way, and next thing I know, him and my husband are over there doing dance contests. So needless to say, his knees hurted after that day, but I will say that was the best memory that I've had. One of the memories that I had with my father.
One thing that people may not know about my dad is that he's hilarious. I mean, he should be a comedian.
He's always trying to outdance me when we're at parties. He thinks he's the best cha-cha in the world. He can do the best cha-cha dance in the world. I taught him some steps, and he sort of added things to the steps, and now he thinks he's better than me.
He and my mom, they were just so popular. They were like the neighborhood popular people. People would knock on my door as a little girl and say, hey, is your dad home? And I was like, no, but I am. They'll say, oh, no, we'll come back, because he always wanted to, play Foursquare, and he would not take it easy on them. He would not let them win, and he had a nickname for everybody. He was at my after prom. He and my mom, they partied. Just great, great parents, and that's the part people probably won't know.
I've got a chance to live long enough to see Alicia, Tiffany, and Steve. I've got a chance to see y'all through your ups and downs and everything. God let me stay around.
After 38 years of marriage and business partnership, Steve lost his wife and lifetime partner, Barbara, after she fought MS and cancer for 12 years.
So I would say that if I had to describe him as something that was very, very meaningful to me, is the way he took care of his family, and especially my friend Barbara. And I love him for that.
I tried to be there all the way. Even when she got sick, I didn't leave. I was right there and all the way. And I believe she would have done the same for me. And I just think that first I didn't understand it. You know, why did this happen? And I prayed on it. And God said, don't worry about that. I got that. What I want you to do is regroup because I'm not finished with you yet. You know, got married again and been married. God has shaped me to believe that.
Steve was a leader. He was an innovator in business. He was really early and ahead of his time on everything that he did.
He's a heck of a role model and a heck of a human being.
I just love the guy. He's always looked after me.
He knows everyone. He's very well connected.
I mean, his name rang very loud in the community from way back.
If he was sitting next to me, climbing my stairway to my business, knowing what I know, I believe I'd be twice as far as I am today.
I mean, he could bring people together like nobody's business, and I've always appreciated that.
He's the perfect example of believing in himself, realizing if he doesn't believe in himself, why should anybody else?
I come from the bottom up. That's it. It's time for action. People without vision will perish. And that's where I'm at. And that's what I'm about.
Just want to give a very happy birthday shout out to a father figure of mine, Mr. Stephen Reece Sr. Happy birthday, Pops. We love you. See you again for many, many more. Have a great birthday.
Steve, I want to wish you happy 70th birthday, your 7/10 of a century. Let's finish strong and complete that century mark. So that's what we're shooting for, Steve. May God bless and keep you.
I'm very proud of you. I'm happy, that you're celebrating another year, and we will all be here for you. God bless you, and we love you.
Steve, happy birthday, son. You're 70 years old. I hope you live to be 90 as I am. Congratulations.
Happy birthday, Dr. Reece. Love you, man.
Now, happy birthday to Steve Reece, 70 years old. He's getting old.
Happy 70th birthday. Hopefully we get to say happy 100th birthday. Like I said, you've been an inspiration, and without you, it wouldn't be me.
Papa, this is Jay Money, and I just want to wish you a happy 70th birthday. Love you, my man.
Papa, I just wanted to wish you a happy 70th birthday.
Happy 70th birthday, Papa. We love you.
I'm extremely proud of my relatives and family, and especially my grandchildren. When I look at them, I get so proud. They're doing so well, and I just know that they'll do what needs to be done. Thank you, God, for letting me see them.
What can a girl